All right, you're watching What the Tech, the show that cuts right through the corporate hype, no holds barred. Today, we're taking aim at a tech giant and its multi-billion-dollar bet on AI. We're talking about Microsoft, and the word on the street is their entire AI strategy is a catastrophe in the making. Let's get into it.
Let's just start with the knockout punch, shall we? This is the core accusation, straight from the source material. Look, the argument isn't that people haven't heard of Copilot. No, the claim is way more brutal than that. People know about it, and they just do not want it. So let's unpack why that might be. So what is the fundamental issue here? Well, according to the analysis, Microsoft has completely lost the plot. The focus has shifted from you, the user, to the stock chart. It's a classic, almost tragic story of a company forgetting who it's supposed to be building for in the first place. And this slide just lays out the massive disconnect perfectly. On the left, you've got what we all want, right? Products that solve real problems, stuff you can actually rely on. But then you look at what Microsoft is delivering, and it's a totally different story. It feels like AI just glued onto everything, features that are half-baked, and it's all being forced on you, not adopted because you actually like it. And this brings us to the next huge problem, the brand itself. See, the argument here is that Copilot isn't a unified, coherent vision. It's just a marketing sticker they're slapping onto a bunch of totally inconsistent and, frankly, often unreliable experiences. And you know what? People can feel that. They know when something is hollow. And yeah, this just illustrates the point perfectly. You see Copilot everywhere you look, but what does it even mean? As a user, the experience is a total mess. The thing it does in Windows, it can't do in Edge. What works in one app is broken in another. This isn't a vision. The sources call it a feature infestation. And that sets up this killer comparison. On one side, you have Google Gemini, which feels more like a single cohesive system. And on the other, you've got Copilot, which is portrayed as this chaotic mess. So you have to ask, is this one integrated assistant, or is it just a bunch of AI gadgets they threw at a wall to see what would stick? Okay, so let's get into the why, because the analysis here says this isn't some accident. Oh no, this is a strategy. A strategy driven less by building great products and more by just trying to impress Wall Street with whatever the hottest tech trend of the month is. This timeline really lays out the pattern under CEO Satya Nadella, doesn't it? The company seems to be in a state of what the source calls permanent hype alignment. They just jump aggressively from one trend to the next. The goal seems to be telling a good story to investors, even if the actual products for users aren't quite there. And here's where it gets really serious, the risk. Comparing your brand new flagship product to Internet Explorer? I mean, ouch, that is about as damning as it gets. It brings back memories of a product that was everywhere, you couldn't avoid it, and so many people absolutely hated it. The fear is that Copilot is heading down that exact same road. So while Microsoft has been making all this noise, its biggest rival has been quietly making moves. The analysis points to Google's quiet come up as the real story here. And now we're starting to see the hard data that shows the real consequences of Microsoft's strategy. We're about to get into the numbers that back all of this up. And hey, if you appreciate this kind of analysis, the kind that cuts through the marketing fluff to get to what's really happening, do us a solid. Hit that like button and subscribe to What the Tech. It really helps us keep making these deep dives. Okay, let's look at the chart. Okay, take a look at this chart from First Page Sage. Yeah, no surprise, ChatGPT is still king, and you see Microsoft Copilot there at number 2, ahead of Google Gemini. But that is not the important number here. Your eyes need to go all the way to the column on the far right, estimated quarterly user growth. This bar chart just screams the story, right? Copilot's user growth is an absolutely anemic 2%. Meanwhile, Google Gemini is growing at 12%, and Anthropic's Claude is at a whopping 14%. So while Microsoft has the market share for now, its growth is hitting a wall, while its competitors are sprinting past. This is the trend that should be setting off every alarm bell in Redmond. But look, this is about way more than just losing a numbers game. The long-term danger is far more serious. It's about losing the user's trust and, more importantly, losing what the source material calls the psychological slot. So what the heck is a psychological slot? Think of it like this. It's that default go-to space in your brain for the thing I ask for help. With a totally new category like AI assistants, the first product that really earns your trust, that really works, wins that slot.
If your first experience with the tool is that it's annoying or buggy or unhelpful, you mentally file it away as bad, and you almost never go back. Microsoft is risking getting permanently filed in the unreliable category.
So, where does this all end up? The final verdict from this analysis is a quiet horror, especially for a company that prides itself on being an innovator. It points to a future that might be profitable, sure, but maybe a little embarrassing.
And there it is, the ultimate burn. The fear is that Microsoft, unable to create its own beloved best-in-class AI product, just slides into becoming the infrastructure layer. They become a glorified server broker, selling cloud space from partners like NVIDIA, to the actual innovators who are building the AI experiences that people truly love. Profitable? For sure. But they become a reseller, not a leader. Which leaves us with this one final massive question. In this new era of AI, being the default option just isn't enough anymore. You can't just lock users in. You have to earn their loyalty, their trust, their love. And the question this analysis leaves us wrestling with is whether the company that wants to find the personal computer still remembers how to do that.